You're listening to the all-new Goggler podcast. It's a new year, it's 2026, and Bahir and I have decided to change things up a little bit. We took note of your feedback. We did a little post on Instagram. Not all of it was helpful. We asked you if you liked longer podcasts or shorter podcasts. The vote came down to 50-50. So,
Yeah.
thanks for that. But there was some pretty good feedback, and we've decided to integrate that into this new experiment we're doing. So, in the past, we've had podcast episodes that were dedicated to either a specific film or a TV show where we would review that movie or TV show. Sometimes we would have special episodes where we discuss things like Avatar or Tron, or dive deep into spoiler territory over a specific episode of House of the Dragon, for example, or Westworld. You know the drill. You've been listening to us for a while now. What we decided to do was go back to our roots. This is, after all, a movie podcast, and we thought we'd spend our time talking about all things movies. So every episode of the Goggler podcast will now feature reviews, multiple reviews, of film, television, but also talk about the industry and the business, occasionally some interesting gossip, maybe, and stuff like that. Let us know what you think after you listen to this episode. We're more than happy to receive your feedback and modify the Goggler podcast accordingly. But let's kick things off. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about The Rip, the brand new Netflix movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. We're going to be talking about the new horror Primate, as well as 28 years later, The Bone Temple. But, to kick things off, I discovered something over the last week that completely blew my mind, and I don't think many people are aware of it or ready for it. Bahe, two of this year's biggest movies are not going to have IMAX releases.
Yeah. When you told me this, I thought it was freaking wild.
Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday are both going up against The Odyssey and Dune. Now, Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan have both shot with IMAX cameras. It's not filmed for IMAX, it's filmed with IMAX, and there is a difference and a distinction. What that means is that they get 3 weeks of exclusivity in IMAX cinemas. Globally, worldwide. That's insane. That means we're not going to be able to see Avengers Doomsday or Spider-Man Brand New Day on IMAX. Now, week 4, sure. If the movies perform well, if Dune, say, tanks at the box office and exhibitors go, oh my god, now's the time, let's add some Doomsday screenings, sure. But on opening night, you're not going to be able to see those movies in IMAX. That's crazy.
Like, I'm looking forward to watching all 4 of those films on IMAX.
So before you go on, Bahe, I will
Yes.
say this.
Uh-huh.
I don't think you gain much from watching Doomsday or Brand New Day on IMAX. And I say that because all you get is better sound and a bigger screen. Now, if you look at the previous Avengers movies and Spider-Man movies, or even Deadpool and Wolverine, for example, it's not like they took advantage of the aspect ratio. Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan are shooting for IMAX, and you get the full IMAX experience, not just a movie on a bigger screen. And so, in that sense, it's not crazy. But you're right, I would like to see both of those movies on the biggest possible screen.
Yeah, I mean, I remember us driving around Kuala Lumpur looking for the next IMAX screens that were available for Avengers Endgame.
Yeah,
Right?
I think the second time we watched Endgame on launch day, I don't think we were even sitting together.
I don't think we were. I think we just grabbed any 2 seats we could get.
Correct.
There is an experience to be gotten from seeing a film like... Okay, we don't know what the Spider-Man film is going to be like, but we know there's going to be 30 fucking actors in Doomsday.
Right.
So at some point, there may or may not be a big, massive battle. And, you know, there's nothing like watching that Endgame fight sequence on a massive screen.
Yeah.
But I agree with you in that I am incredibly excited to be watching Odyssey on IMAX because the Odyssey is that story, right? It is the ultimate hero's journey story.
It's like the first hero's journey
It's
story.
it's like the first hero's journey story, right? And the kind of epics that Odysseus went through is going to be amazing on the massive screen. And Denis Villeneuve has done incredible things shooting a desert on IMAX. So I wouldn't say I'm torn, but I'm shocked that we won't be getting two of those films on opening day, at least in IMAX.
Tom Rothman, the head of Sony, he's not moving dates. Warner is not moving dates. I mean, even Robert Downey Jr. and Timothée Chalamet have leaned into it. I think they did a guest appearance on stage together and they were both calling it Doomsday. So they're both leaning into the inevitable that both of these movies are going to be launched on the same day. However, I will say this. You know what is crazy about it? What is crazy about it is the business side. Because IMAX and premium screens accounts for so much of box office takings. And what that means is that the takings for both of these movies are going to be affected. I think Doomsday more than Spider-Man Brand New Day because Doomsday is likely to be over 3 hours. I don't think Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be over 3 hours, but if a movie is over 3 hours, it also means you can have fewer screenings in a day. And so therefore, both Disney and Warner Brothers are going to be competing not just for the IMAX screens, but for the number of screens that are showing their movies in a particular cinema. And so that's going to be nuts.
I actually think there will be a loser here. In that, unlike the Barbie Oppenheimer thing, where that really was a rising tide raise all boats kind of situation.
But also, I think Barbie did more for Oppenheimer than the other way around.
Sure, absolutely. But I think here there will be a clear loser. I'm not quite ready to put my money down yet where, but I think one of those films on each of those opening days will have a worse taking. I will say, however, they aren't identical audience quadrants.
No, they aren't at all. Like, Dune is hardcore, hard sci-fi.
And skews slightly older. Doomsday is absolutely younger crowd.
Sure.
It is the same for the next one, right? It is the same for Odyssey and the Spider-Man film. I don't know who will lose, but I think one of those will lose on that day.
And the Odyssey as well, I think, appeals to different quadrants. However, I will say Spider-Man is the one sure thing in Hollywood, right? It is probably the most powerful superhero / comic book brand. And so it has a ready audience, and it has a ready audience of all ages, in that my mum, who is in her late 70s, will want to go and watch the Spider-Man movie in cinemas.
But here's the question. Which one will they go to first?
Correct. And I think the Odyssey is an interesting challenge because every kid in America studies that in school. So it's not just for the old dads who like Christopher Nolan movies. I'm pretty sure every teacher in the classroom is going to be like, hey, go out and watch the new Odyssey movie.
They're going to be marketing that movie for the studio.
Exactly. And so that's going to be very, very interesting. With Dune and Doomsday, however, it's a different kind of competition in that Doomsday has the pent-up anticipation of Robert Downey Jr., who is probably the biggest draw for that film. I don't even think it's the Russos anymore. I think it's Robert Downey Jr. And the return of the classic Avengers, because everyone's kind of been disappointed so far with what's been happening. And even though, like you said, Bahe, there are 30 over actors in this movie, X-Men are coming back, Fantastic Four are going to be in it, yada, 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 I still think Marvel has a steep hill to climb given how disappointed a lot of their fans have become over the last few years.
I also think the word of mouth of the first couple of showings will be important here, because if word comes out that the X-Men are just in a flashback sequence, or that they all die in 5 minutes somewhere in the middle of the film, people are just going to be like, oh man, it's a rug pull. Fuck those guys. I'll wait. in some corners of the internet, there is some interest about that whole 30-man cast thing that they've got going. However, the first few people who go and watch it, if they come out and say, actually, it's just the Fantastic Four and Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, and everybody else just jumps in and out of the movie, they become glorified cameo appearances, I think that will dampen spirits in the subsequent days.
That's the hill, right? Doomsday has got to be exceptional to clear that bar. Something Marvel hasn't had to do for a long time, because for the longest time, they've just had to be Marvel and people would go watch the movies. Dune, on the other hand, is already at that level. The last two movies have had incredible critical acclaim. I think Dune 2 cleared 700 million globally, so it's also a box office winner. Timothée Chalamet has never been hotter. It'll be the fourth movie that Zendaya is in 2026, so she's going to be huge throughout this year. And if Timothée Chalamet wins the Oscar for Marty Supreme, I think they've got all of this momentum going towards Dune that might bring in non-fans of the franchise as well because of those names.
I think with Dune, there were 2 films prior to it. So if you liked Zendaya in Dune 1 and Dune 2, you're going to love her in Dune 3, right? If you love Timothée Chalamet in Dune 1 or Dune 2, you're going to love him in Dune 3. And I think that sort of then will help the Odyssey push up, because sure, Timothée Chalamet isn't in that, but Tom Holland is, Anne Hathaway is. There's all these other people that are also very famous names that can help get past the, oh, it's a Matt Damon old man kind of movie lah. So I think that will help that as well.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting year. Like, when that occurred to me, I was just like, oh my God, this is wild.
Yeah. I think opening day plus 2 weeks, I think will be interesting to see who's won and who's lost that period for both those, release dates, I think.
And it's also because 2026 is such a crammed year. Like, we were looking through the titles that are coming out this year, and we were just looking through the big blockbuster titles that were coming out this year, and those look huge. We don't even know what awards contenders are going to be like later in the year. I mean, already it looks like we're going to have a great year for movies. So we're pretty excited. But let's talk movies. We've been watching a lot of stuff over the last week, over the last month. We want to talk about 3 of those movies: The Rip, Primate, and 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Let's kick things off with 28 Years Later. So this one comes just like 6 months after the last movie. I don't know if January was the best time to release this, or if that 6-month break was enough. Because even on our Instagram feed, there were some people who were confused, thinking that we were just reviewing the last movie. And I was like, no, this is a new one. It's a new movie. But man, this film was incredible.
It is wild.
This one takes place immediately after the events of 28 Years Later. It is directed by Nia DaCosta, who of course did The Marvels. Recently, she also did a movie on Prime Video, I believe, called Hedda. And wow, I mean, like, it's written by Alex Garland, and he is continuing this story. And I don't know how to describe this movie except to say that it completely subverted my expectations of what a zombie movie could be. Like, even the zombie movies, even the zombie TV shows like The Walking Dead and all of this stuff, even the movies that drill down on the idea that this is not a movie about zombies, it's about humanity, always slips back into
a zombie movie.
Yeah, exactly, right? They can't help themselves. And 28 years later, the Bone Temple has the balls to just go, no, fuck it, we're not going there. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't any zombie attacks. I mean, there are zombie attacks. Of course there are. But it's really not about that. It's about the humans. It's about survival. It's about progress. It's about moving forward. And it's about just how you hold on to that humanity in the face of nothingness. It's so good.
It is fantastic. I've
like, you loved the last one.
I loved the last one, and I have no idea how this is bombing in the cinema. I have
It's
no idea
timing,
how
man.
this. I think you're right. I think
Everyone's
it's timing.
spent out from Christmas. They got no more money left. It's cold. It's winter in America. Like, they don't want to go out. They don't want to leave their house.
I also wonder if it's like you said, it's too close to the previous one. So I wonder if there's a chance people are just like, you know what?
I've done this movie.
I've done this movie this year already, recently, and I think I can just wait for this to show up in the streamings.
Like, this was the first big movie we watched this year. Like, the first big press screening, the first big movie. And I left the cinema going, holy shit, if this is a sign of things to come, 2026 is going to be great.
I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there are so little zombies in this, and I'm not disappointed by that. I'm not disappointed at the writers focusing the story more on the humans. Because look, you're right. Other people have said that pitch. They've given us that pitch before, right? Where, oh, this isn't a zombie movie. It's about how humans discover themselves and survive in the apocalypse. Blah, blah, blah. I feel like Bone Temple actually does it. There are zombies, but very few actual zombie attacks. There are no moments of peril with our heroes. There are other people that get chewed on, and that's fine.
The moments of peril with our heroes are caused by other humans.
And, if you've seen 28 Years Later, you will know the Jimmy Gang. It really explains how the Jimmy Gang, in some ways, comes to be and why they've gone down that route, why these characters are these people. And I think that makes it interesting. And the addition of the newest Jimmy Finger to the gang. And I think all of that really makes it interesting. There's this thing I love about these movies, about the 28X zombie movies, is that it's not really about the moment after the zombie apocalypse. It's about the 30 years later. It's about the 30 months later. It's what Walking Dead was at its best. Humans trying to survive after the zombie apocalypse. It isn't about the zombie apocalypse. It's about surviving after it has happened. And Bone Temple really feels like that. Yeah, it's that forgotten days where nothing really happens, but you're just trying to get through it.
It's those forgotten days where it looks like there's no way back. So you've just
accepted it. This is
settled
life
into
now.
a groove.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the world now, right?
Yeah. And
I think
love
that's
that.
what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I love the stories you tell in that.
But isn't this what we're always complaining about with any franchise, right? We're always bitching about the fact that they keep trying to do too much sometimes. And when we love a world, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or DC or 28 Years Later, all we want are more stories that take place within that world.
We want to see how people live there.
And what Alex Garland and Nia DaCosta have done with this is find interesting new conflicts and complexities to frame their story around. It doesn't actually matter if you've seen any of the movies before this. I think this one still stands alone by itself as something incredibly unique, incredibly interesting, with just some masterful performances from Jack O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes. He will never get it, but this is the kind of thing that Ralph Fiennes needs to get an Oscar for. His performance was absolutely stupendous. Like, there is something that happens in the third act, and we're not going to spoil it because you need to experience it for yourself. But there is something that happens in the third act that is just a performance, and it is amazing.
Yeah. It's I'm disappointed that this film is not getting the kind of attention and love that it deserves, because
Yeah.
I understand why 28 Years Later needed to come out first.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm annoyed that this movie comes out second, because in some ways, this is almost the more interesting film.
I totally agree. So this is my concern based on what's happening right now. This is, of course, part 2 of a planned trilogy. I'm hoping that the first installment made enough money to cover the fact that this one is failing at the box office, so we'll actually get a third movie.
Yeah.
Then again, both of these movies didn't cost much to make at all, which is part of Sony's model. Like, none of these are over 100 million. I think they're 90 million each or something like that, maybe even cheaper. And so that also means it doesn't cost as much to break even. And so maybe we will get that third movie, because it's very rare that I see a second movie and go, oh my God, I can't wait for the third one now. I haven't been able to stop thinking about some of the things in this movie, and we saw it well over a week ago.
Yeah.
That is, for me, the very definition of what cinema should do and what memorable cinema should be. It's just,
Yeah.
wow.
The thing that I'm thinking the most about this movie, this many days later, is not the massive alpha that was bursting through the jungle, or that gruesome kill that guy had, or the violence the Jimmy gang subjected the people they found. It's not that. It's the what happens next. It's what happens next to these characters in this world. What happens to the Bone Temple now? Those are the questions I'm curious about. And that's what I've been thinking about.
There's also a very, very clever little epilogue. I think it's very smart that they included that epilogue, because it's a hopeful counter to what happens at the end of the movie. Like, for me, narratively, I don't want to spoil it, but for me, narratively, that's a really smart thing to do, because you put the audience on this kind of W curve of emotions, so you end on a high. And I think that's really, really cool as well, because that gets you excited for what's coming next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
28 years later, The Bone Temple, if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It's in Malaysian cinemas right now. We can also tell you that the censorship board did not go nuts. All of the cursing and the cunting is there. There's a lot of gore and violence. You're not going to be missing anything. So it's definitely worth watching on the big screen. Also, because Neo Costa has done some incredible stuff with her camera and her cinematography. So go check it out. It's now in Malaysian cinemas. But speaking of things that aren't memorable, Primate is a new horror thriller in the vein of Stephen King and Cujo. It's written and directed by Johannes Roberts. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he's done some pretty good horror work. So 47 Meters Down, the shark movie that he did, was really good, and I enjoyed that. But what was surprising was 47 Meters Down Uncaged, which was the sequel to that movie, was actually better. And so his horror chops are pretty established. And in this one, he goes old school with the story of a teen summer break, friends getting together at their house, where there happens to be a pet chimp that goes berserk. That's pretty much it. That's the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It isn't a bad movie. It's a very competent film.
Yeah.
Like, it does what it says on the tin.
Yes.
And it delivers that. I'm not saying it's my favorite movie or that I loved it. I'm just saying that it's a very competently made movie which had some things going for it, but I won't remember it in a week.
This is not my kind of movie at all. And yeah, it's competent. Competent is a great word for it. I really don't want to review it because I'm coming to it from really the point of view of someone who doesn't like these movies, who actively doesn't enjoy these kinds of films. So I can't speak to the jump scares. So, I thought the violence was over the top and gratuitous. Take from that what you will, right? If you like over the top gratuitous violence, as some people do, then sure, this movie is for you.
Which a lot of people like, apparently.
And that's fine. Yeah, go for it. Go nutsos.
Okay. So, as a horror thriller,
Sure.
it's pretty basic.
Yes.
If you've seen Cujo, you've seen this movie.
Yes.
There isn't anything surprising here with regards to the plot. In fact, they tell you exactly what this movie is during the title cards, where they describe what the disease of rabies is. And essentially, this pet chimp has rabies. You know that within the first 30 seconds of the movie. And that's why it goes mad, and that's why it starts killing people. Where I think it does shine just a little bit is in some of the directorial decisions.
Okay.
So one of the decisions was to not use a CGI chimp and use a performer. I think that made a hell of a difference. I think even with the gratuitous gore and violence you were talking about, there seemed to be a real weight to what was going on because it felt like a real chimp. And I know CGI has gone a long way. I've seen those Planet of the Apes movies. But somehow this one felt very tactile and visceral. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was an actual performer and not digital. And so I think that was good. And that had me engaged because I was curious to see what was going to happen next. The other thing that I thought was kind of cool, and you may have seen this in the trailer, is that a lot of the action takes place in a swimming pool situation because the chimp can't swim, but also rabies is associated with hydrophobia. So the animals that have rabies are terrified of water. And so that becomes an interesting plot device. I wish they had done more with it, but I thought it was a very clever thing because throughout the whole movie, I was thinking, oh, wait, how can they escape? How can they use the water? What's going on? Like, it got me really involved in the film. And in that sense, I thought those two elements were potentially the cleverest things about a movie that isn't very clever.
Can I just say one thing that I was surprised no one did? It was established early on that there is a phone in Ben's enclosure.
Yes.
I'm surprised they didn't write in an attempt to go to said enclosure and lock themselves in Jurassic Park style. I was sitting there throughout the film going, there's a phone in the enclosure. There's a phone in the enclosure. You called the phone. You know it's in the enclosure. Why are you not there?
Which is ironic because among the many things he pays homage to, Jurassic Park is one of the things. Because the prologue to the movie mirrors the prologue to Jurassic Park.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh.
Again, this isn't necessarily a comment from a fan of these kinds of films. This is actually very much a comment from a non-fan. But I will say the characters were not stupid for the most part.
Actually, they weren't. You're right.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that no one was making stupid decisions.
Yes. I will, though, say that the writers decided to do stupid things at certain points. Like, for example, it's not a very big house. Yet, for some reason in this world, sound doesn't travel very far. And I just feel like those kinds of things just bug me.
Speaking of sound, this is what annoyed me the most.
Okay.
Troy Kotsur is in this movie.
Yes.
He's deaf. He was the one who won the Oscar for Coda. He is phenomenal.
We love Troy Kotsur in this house, yeah.
We do. He is great. I was very excited when I learned that Troy Kotsur was in this movie because I thought, why cast a deaf person unless you're going to use it? Especially in a horror film. And they do very, very little at the end, right at the very end. But it feels like a criminal waste of all of the cool shit you could have done with this.
I also feel like that cool bit that they did at the end of the film with Troy Kotsur, I don't like it because it wasn't earned.
It wasn't.
Because 3 scenes prior to that moment, suddenly we go into Troy Kotsur's mind and we see how he cannot hear anybody because he's at a party and he's trying to communicate. So, like, you're setting up that sequence. I get it, but I need you to set it up much earlier than that. Because you've never done that. The director never went to Troy Kotsur's point of view where the audio dips out and suddenly you're deaf just like the character. You didn't do it at the beginning of the movie, but you're doing it now because I know it's going to come up later. I didn't like that. That felt cheap.
Yeah, like I said, it isn't a great movie. It is a serviceable January movie. And I think we'll leave you with that. So do with that what you will. Primate is showing in Malaysian cinemas this week. And I think if you enjoy the violent, gory, like he pulls no punches with the gore. And
None
the
at
LPF, our censorship board, didn't go nuts as well. A lot of it is there. I don't know. Even if they made cuts, I didn't notice it because I was too busy flinching.
Can I just say, like, if they made cuts, if there were other more violent things that they thought they needed to remove, wow. That's that must have been crazy. Yeah.
Like the first 30 seconds of the movie already has you flinching. So if you're into that kind of thing, go check out Primate. If you've already seen it, do let us know what you think. I don't know. Are you a fan of these sorts of movies? I was just expecting more. Like,
I was hoping for more story.
Exactly. I was expecting some kind of twist and not just another rabbit animal. I thought there was going to be more to this, but like there was one point when there was a phone call and it was like, where did you find this mongoose? I mean, a series of texts because Troy Kot's character is deaf, but there was a series of texts like, where did you get this mongoose?
Is this a joke?
Ooh, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But nothing happened.
I just had a thought that I hate myself for putting out into the world, but in those series of texts, Troy Kotzer is texting with his veterinarian friend. And the veterinarian friend says, is this a joke? Where did you get this mongoose? And Troy Kotzer goes, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, because there hasn't been any rabies in Hawaii since forever, or something like that, right? So basically, there are no rabies cases. There are no rabies in Hawaii. Are they going to make a second one where there's a primate outbreak in Hawaii where rabies goes? I'm just like, I don't want to put that out into the world, but I just did. But like, you're right. There was a moment there where it could have been something, but instead it's just, nope, just Ben.
It's a throwaway line, and that's it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyway, if you do check it out, let us know what you think. You know what to do. Moving on to a Netflix movie. This one's called The Rip. It's by Joe Carnahan. Phenomenal director. He's back with a movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. They're both reunited since Air was the last time we saw them together. And this is, I don't want to call it a cop drama. I think it's more of a drug thriller. It all takes place within one night. It opens with the killing of a police officer, and there is some shady business going on between the mob, the cartels, the police. And in the middle of it all is Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and their team of, let's call it their elite team of drug enforcement officials. They're not DEA, they're like a side elite team.
They're like a police task force.
Exactly. So their team is not interested in looking for drugs, but their team is interested in looking for money. And so they're in charge of looking for large stashes of money. And they show up at this house where they receive a tip where there's supposedly $300,000 worth of cash. After that, everything goes into high intensity shit hits the fan mode. Can we say anything else?
No, I don't think so.
We can say one more thing, which is in the trailer. Basically, the entire movie hinges on the idea of whether these guys are the good guys or the bad guys. Are they going to steal the money or are they going to turn it in? And that's where the conflict arises. Like, that's all I'll say, because there are plenty of twists and turns and things I did not see coming.
I want to say that your description is accurate, but also maybe misleading, because I was genuinely very surprised and thrilled at the fact that a majority of this movie isn't bam, bam, shootout. It is talking. It is, I wouldn't say hostage negotiation, but a lot of just talking about the situation they're in, playing it out with other people. There's a lot of strategizing and character building, all in dialogue, and I loved it. There is one shootout, one car chase.
Yep, that's all.
And one foot chase. But the foot chase and the car chase happens at the same time, so do with that what you will. But that's it, right?
I also think the way Joe Carnahan has kind of structured the tension in this movie is phenomenal, because You are constantly guessing, your allegiances are constantly shifting. You have no idea who the good people are and who the bad people are. There's information that is dropped at you at various times that completely changes your point of view of what's going on.
But also, there's information that's dropped throughout the film that makes you question, is this an unreliable narrator?
Yes.
Which was brilliant.
It's funny because, yet again, this is a Netflix movie, but it's also precisely the kind of movie you would want to see in a cinema with a lot of people. Because I was watching it by myself on my couch, and I kept looking around to react to other people with, because every time something happened, I was like, oh my God. And I was like, wait, what? And I was just, I was constantly on edge. And it's been a long time since a cop thriller has done that.
This is a cop thriller. It's not a action movie. This is not an action movie. But it is so tightly written. So at this point, we've all heard of the Matt Damon quote about how Netflix wanted them to reiterate the story 3 or 4 times because Netflix thinks that people are watching it while playing with their phones. And Netflix are not wrong, although Netflix is at fault for that. But I think there's a thing that they do here which I think is important. There are flashbacks here that I initially hated until I got to the end and I realized why they were there. Those flashbacks are not used so that you're not lost. And I love that. I love that the flashbacks are not used as a crutch. There's a point to it that Joe Carnahan has inserted them where he has. And I thought that was great.
This is also a movie that wouldn't work as well if it wasn't for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Oh, yeah, completely.
It is entirely built upon the idea we have of their real life relationship. Because the bromance that takes place within the movie and the trust that happens within the movie can be earned very quickly with an audience because it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And so you don't have to do much work as a writer trying to convince the audience that these guys are bros and that they trust each other and that they would die for each other. And so when a conflict happens, you feel it even harder because you're like, wait, but they're bros. And I think that works on a completely different level because of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. That was a very cunning play with regards to casting. Yeah. It's like George Clooney and Jay Kelly, right? It works because you're seeing George Clooney and you're kind of associating layers of that character on him as well.
What Joe Carnahan was able to do with the writing is that because I don't know which came first, but because it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, you're right. He doesn't have to write in the relationship that they have because real world relationship sort of really transfers through. But at the same time, when the trust is broken between the characters, when a speed bump occurs in their relationship, it hits you even harder because you know these people in real life. You've put emotional weight to their relationship in the film. So with that, they were able to do a lot of shorthands, a lot of shortcuts there. And I thought that was great. But I really, really enjoyed this movie, man.
I had a great time.
I've been seeing some people talk shit about this. And I'm like, I think you're missing the point. I think you're being cynical watching this.
Wait. So, I have a new rule, Bhai. My new rule is that every time I see people online shitting on a movie or a TV show that's on streaming, I take these opinions with a pinch of salt. Because the first question I want to ask them is, did you watch the whole movie or were you just on your phone?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I see this commentary and I'm like, wait, were you actually watching the movie? Because all of this would have been explained if you were watching the movie. And so, that's my new rule.
But I also feel like a lot of the comments have come after the Matt Damon, Joe Rogan interview, where he talks about Netflix wanting them to reiterate the plot. I saw a clip someone put together of all the times they mentioned the rip and the money and what we're going to do with the rip. Are we going to take the rip? And I'm like, and they were like, oh, this is just a Netflix problem because until I saw the film and I realized, actually, no, they're just having a conversation. Correct. They're referring to the thing that's in front of them. They're not referring to the movie. They're not trying to make sure everybody's up to timelines with regards to what the story is doing. No, they're talking about the thing.
No, but more importantly, they're missing the big joke. The idea behind referencing the rip over and over again, there's a payoff to it at the very end.
Yeah.
And there is a joke about that as well. And so it's a build up to a joke. Anyway, what can you do, eh?
First podcast of 2026, I just want to put it out there that this is what I'm doing for 2026. I'm giving creatives grace. I'm giving people grace. Yes, a movie may have plot holes, but if I enjoyed the movie, it's okay. Yes, a director may do stupid things in his film, but if I enjoyed the film, it's okay. Give grace. Nobody's actively trying to piss you off. It's not personal.
It's not all about you.
It's not all about you.
It's also not just for you.
Yes. So if you don't get something, it's okay. It's for
It's okay.
300 million other people who will watch it, who will love it. So it's fine. Except when it comes to Zack Snyder movies.
Because I think we've given that guy a lot of grace.
He deserves no more grace.
No more grace.
Although I will say, if he does make that new movie, I am curious.
To be fair, yes, this new movie he's doing about a photograph sounds compelling. But then again, a lot of Zack Snyder movies on paper sound compelling. So,
But it's not a superhero movie, so I'm looking forward to it.
or a Star Wars wannabe.
Or a Star Wars wannabe movie.
The Rip is now showing on Netflix. You can catch Primate and 28 years later, The Bone Temple in Malaysian cinemas. Let us know what you think about the new format. Do you like these longer episodes? You know how to reach out. We're on Instagram on GogglerMY. You can also email us your thoughts on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.